Hi, this is Kim from Emerging Creatively Tutorials, and this is ECT TV, episode 82. So, today I'm going to show you how to make a pendant, and this pendant that I'm wearing is kind of the inspiration for the pendant that I'm going to be making. I made this one first, and then I came up with a version that's a little bit easier to make. It looks pretty similar, but maybe it's just a little more simplified. So let's take a closer look at this necklace, and then I'll show you how to make the pendant. I wanted to start by showing you the inspiration necklace for the pendant I'm about to show you how to make. And I talked about the inspiration kind of for the necklace, this necklace itself, on my blog, and I'll link to the blog post over in the show notes. And I came up with this necklace, but then I instantly realized all these different pieces could be necklaces themselves to make a more simple sort of statement. So what we're going to be doing is making a pendant with this circle, the beads, also with a dangle, but not quite so complicated. So I just wanted to show you that sometimes you'll come up with this idea, and then you may come up with other ideas kind of based on your first idea. So these are the materials and tools you'll need to make this pendant. So you'll need half hard round wire. I'm using 20 gauge, and I suggest 20 gauge unless your beads won't allow 20 gauge. So whatever the thickest wire will go through your bead, it will probably be 20 gauge, will work great for you. As I mentioned before, I use para wire, and it's silver plated wire, and it's non-tarnish, which is great. On the inspiration necklace, I used a kind of brass colored wire, so whatever you want to use is fine. And then you're going to need some beads, and I have them in this tray so they don't slide around. And so you'll need, depending on the size of your beads, you can use whatever beads you like. For these round beads, these are about 4 millimeters. I'm going to be using 10 to 12 for the pendant, or I'm going to try also some chip gemstone beads, and you'll need, enough. You can just sort of see how big you want to make the circle in your pendant, and then decide how many beads you want from there. And then we'll also be using kind of a focal bead to dangle down in the middle, and so I'm using this kind of triangular sea glass bead for this one. For the gemstone chip one, I have just a gemstone nugget bead. So it's kind of up to you what you want to use. And then you'll need something to hang your pendant on. I am using a chain. You could use a cord, and this is a really simple chain that I actually made with jump rings, and I showed you how to do that on my blog yesterday. There's a video as well, so I'll link to that. But seriously, it's just attaching jump rings to each other. So if you find yourself without chain, it's kind of fun to make this chain. I used these 7 millimeter jump rings. So if you wanted to make a larger chain, like you wanted the links to be larger, you could use larger jump rings, or smaller, you could use smaller jump rings. You could vary the different sizes, and that would be a cool look as well. So I just made that chain and added a lobster clasp. And then you may need another jump ring to attach your pendant to your chain. And then let me show you the tools you'll need. So the tools you'll need are wire cutters, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, or you could use flat nose, whatever you're comfortable with, and a pair of bent nose pliers. So let's get started. So first things first, you want to take your larger focal bead and make it into a bead dangle. I'm not going to show you how to do that on this video because I've shown it so many times already. But if you don't know how to do this, come to the link below the video over to the blog post for this episode, and I'll link over to how to make a beads angle so you can get that information. So the first thing we're going to do is cut some wire, and I'm going to cut about 8 to 10 inches. So I'm going to slide on this focal bead first, and since it has a little loop, you just place it on with the loop, and I'm just kind of bending this around. This is going to be a circle eventually, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm doing it to hold the beads on. If the wire was straight out, they'd tend to slide off. And then we're just going to slide all the beads that you want to make the circle as large as you'd like. So that could vary for you depending on your bead size, or, depending on the size you want your final pendant to be. I'm going to start by putting 5, and this is going to be in the middle, so I'm going to do 5 on each side, and I'm just going to keep it symmetrical. So that's one side. I'll do the other side. I'm just going to pull this into a circle and see if I like it. And I think that is a cute size. Actually, I'm going to try adding one more bead to each side though. And you can just, experiment like I am here. Sometimes you might want to change things on the fly. And I'm using all the same color bead for my pendant here, but you could switch it up. You could definitely use different colors. So I like this better. So now I'm just going to form this into a circle, and I'm just using my finger, my thumb here. You might want to use maybe a ring mandrel or some other circular object that's close to the right size to make sure your circle is perfect. But as you can see, you can really just use your hands and kind of do it freestyle. And so these top wires are crossing each other, and we are going to twist them. So I'm going to go around all the way around once. After you do that, you can fix it a little more, fix the circle a little more, make sure it's right, it's circular. You could do other shapes too if you want. And I just want to kind of make sure that my focal bead is hanging in the middle here. You wouldn't necessarily even need to use this focal bead if you didn't want to. You could just do the circle. Alright, so now you have these 2 straight wires that come out, and so I want to make a loop on the top. So I'm grabbing my round nose pliers, and I'm going to hold one of the wires, and it doesn't really matter which one. If one ended up a little bit longer than the other, you could use that one. And I'm just lining up. I have a line on my round nose pliers I made with a Sharpie, just so I know that I can make all of my loops the same size throughout a project. And so you just want to hold the wire just about 1/4 of an inch above the twist you just made in your round nose pliers, and then you're going to twist around the pliers to form a loop. Now, this loop is off center, and actually this other wire I'm just going to move out of the way for now. And I want it to be centered on the top of the pendant, not off to the side. So I'm going to hold that loop in my chain nose pliers. I'm going to go around once, and while I do that, I just straighten up the loop so it is centered in the middle on the top. And now I'm going to go around 2 more times. And I'm just using my bent nose pliers to help me wrap. You can just use your fingers if it's comfortable for you. There we go. And then with this other wire that I moved out of the way, we're just going to go around a couple of times too. I'm just using my hand here. This wire's pretty long. I'm just flipping it over because I wanted to see what both sides looked like. Okay. If your loop up here gets weird at all, you can always just put your round nose pliers back in and form it back into a circle. And now we're just going to trim off this excess wire using our wire cutters and making a flush cut. And to make a flush cut, you just use the back of the wire cutters, sort of the back flat side, toward the work, toward what you're leaving behind. And it makes a nice straight flat cut. Okay. And then you're just going to come in with your chain nose pliers and make sure the ends are not poking out. And that is your pendant. Now, if you wanted to just add it to like a simple cord that you have that you just want to slide this pendant on, you would want to make sure that this loop actually went perpendicular the other way. And to do that, you could just use your chain nose pliers and twist. You can do that right now if you want to. I'm actually going to use a jump ring and attach it to this chain that I showed you that I made out of simple jump rings. So I'm simply trying to find the middle of my chain here. And I am just going to use a jump ring and attach my pendant. And I'm closing the jump ring. And that is the completed necklace. So it's pretty simple, and you can actually customize this by using all kinds of different beads. You could use larger beads, you could make a bigger circle, you could try it without the focal bead and just have this simple pretty circle. There's so many varieties that you can try. So I hope that inspires you, and you can come over to KimberlyKoehler.com. I'll have the direct link down below this video and see step-by-step photo instructions for this necklace and all the other things I mentioned that there would be links to throughout this video. You'll find over there as well. I hope you'll also sign up for my 10-day quick start guide to wire wrap jewelry. It's completely free, and you'll find the sign up over on my website at the link below this video. So that's it for this week, and I will talk to you soon.